The crochet tip today is for fine-tuning your crochet. So I'm not pointing out a mistake, instead just showing an alternative way of doing something that can in some cases be better. This here single crochet swatch already has straight edges, but how can we improve on that? This here one has been crocheted the normal way, where you chain one as you turn and then you start in the very first stitch. That ensures that the edges are straight and that you are not increasing or decreasing. But this here has been done with just a very slight change, and the result is a smoother edge. And this here is especially good in projects where it shows very much, like in scarves or for instance the front of a cardigan. I know from the many comments on my videos that so many of those who watch them have been crocheting for decades, just like I have. I can disclose that I started crocheting in the late 60s. But it's amazing that there is always more we all can learn. So the most common way to turn in single crochets to have a straight edge and make sure you are not increasing or decreasing is to finish crocheting in the last stitch, chain one, turn, and then go into the very first stitch and continue like that. So I'm not going to do that now here. And there is only a very slight difference doing it in this other way. In the same way, you make a stitch in the last stitch of the previous row, but make it fairly tight, a little bit tighter than normal, and then stretch the stitch very slightly, just very slightly, like that there, not nowhere near, like anything like that, just very slightly. And then turn, making sure you turn the right way so that the yarn stays behind. Because if you turn the wrong way around, the yarn is in front here. And then you go into the very first stitch and make a single crochet and continue just normally. So that is the only difference, that you do not chain before you turn. I'll go to the end of the row and do it again. There's one stitch left. So I make a slightly tighter single crochet there and then stretch just a little bit and turn and then continue crocheting. And now I'll go to the other end because the stitch there is one that we did this other way. And because of the way we did it, it is slightly smaller here. But you still need to take both sides of that there stitch. And then again a slightly tighter, stretch a little bit, turn and continue. And let's also look at crochet ribbing. In single crochet ribbing, you always take just the back loop of each stitch. And it is very important that you also always crochet the last stitch so that you don't lose stitches. This here sample has been done the way that you chain one, turn, and then continue in the very first back loop. That's the most common way of doing the ribbing. But the problem with that is that there are these here holes forming in there. But if we are doing it the way we just looked at, it's going to be slightly tighter, like this here, no holes here, slightly tighter. So this works the same way. I'll do one row here. I'll take this one out just in case it's not tight enough because it's been left like that. And you need to go into a loop like that. We'll look at that in a second. And again, very slight stretch and turn, and now you start in that same stitch, but only the back loop. And you go to the other end. I'm at the end of the row now, and there are 2 stitches left here, as we can see. So the first one, normally the back loop, but when it's done this way, there's no way of really getting at the back loop of the last stitch. So instead, what you do is you go under this here loop at the end and make a tightish stitch there. And then again, stretch slightly and turn and go in that very same stitch. And otherwise continue ribbing using the back loop. And I'll do one more time the end there. So there's stitch, and I take the back loop of that, and again the back of that stitch is too hard to get, so you go into this here loop that has formed when we turned, and a bit tighter stitch there, stretch, turn and continue. And because many of you are very experienced crocheters, a great idea is to do a combination of these two, so that at one side you do it as we have looked, no chain, and on the other side you can do the chain so that you do get those holes if this here ribbing is going to be used in such a way that you are now going to pick the stitches from there and continue whatever, if it's a sweater or a hat or something. And that is a very professional way of doing it. And I'm going to stitch mark the side so that I remember which side I'm going to do which. So this was the tip for today. See you next time.